Hey class, how are you? I was just hanging out in that closet there, which is what I do most of the time when I'm not teaching class or making videos like this. Funny you should show up in front of this camera and me be here also. Hey, let's talk about how to write your essay. And maybe we'll zoom the video out a little bit because, to tell you the truth, it's creeping the both of us out. I know I'm creeping you out a bit. All right, so here we go. You're going to write an essay about the book that you just read for the Outside Your Culture, Inside Your ZPD book path. And you're going to use at least 3 different elements of the text to support your argument of what you think the major theme is. Now here's my goal with doing this. Hopefully, you've done most of the work in terms of thinking about the book already when you went through that Outside Your Culture, Inside Your ZPD book path. What we're going to focus on for the essay is the writing. You're going to be compiling stuff that you did in that path before this to put into an essay to construct an argument of what you think the major theme is. And luckily for you, the last step of that last path was identifying the major theme in the book. So let's take a look at the requirements real quick. They seem kind of nasty at first, and I'm not going to lie, they kind of are, but you've done a lot of the work leading up to this. So let's start with this, your job. Your job is to write an essay where you argue what the major theme was in the book you read for the Outside Your Culture, Inside Your ZPD book path. Use at least 3 elements from the text listed below to support your argument. Now this word argument, we've been throwing around a lot during the year. And for a lot of people it means different things. What you're not going to do is scream at me like I'm your mom telling you you can't go to your friend's house. We're not having that kind of argument. What we're going to do is have the kind of argument where you use evidence, in this case evidence from the text, to support something you're saying is true. In this case, you're going to be saying that this is the main theme in the text. So that's going to be your argument. That's the thing you're trying to argue and prove that's true. And you're going to use evidence from the text that you explain to back up your argument. So your essay will be focused around you arguing the answer to the question below to an audience who has not read your book before. And this is a big skill. We've been working on this a lot this year. In order to write about something for somebody who doesn't have the same amount of information in their head as you do in yours. In this case, you're writing to me. I may or may not have read the book that you're reading. So you're trying to explain to me both this book, what the theme is, and prove to me that that's the theme of this book through the evidence that you use. So the question is, what is the major theme in the book that you read? Most of you will probably just use the theme that you came up with in the ZPD book path that you just completed. The next part is you're going to pick at least 3 of the following elements listed below that came out of the text to explain how that major theme is created in your text. And you'll notice a lot of these elements relate to assignments that you did in the last step. You might think that the transformation of a character from the beginning of the book to the end of the text, and that really helped create that theme. Or you might think that the setting really helped add to that theme. Or major events in the plot, maybe like the climax, the moment where we found out the story is going to have a happy ending or a sad ending, where the main conflict in the story was over. Did the main conflict in the story, did that have to do with the theme? Maybe details in the text that didn't seem important at first. Maybe those things led to the theme. Maybe the author's word choice, the way they chose to phrase things, maybe that helped create that theme. Maybe the point of view in the story that it was told from. Maybe because it was told from, I don't know, third person omniscient, that helped create that theme. Symbolism in the text. Symbolism is something we haven't talked about in a while, but you've all analyzed it at some point. We talked about in Max at Sea, symbolism, how like the wolf suit represented power. So maybe you can think about people, places, things, objects, actions, or events that represented ideas or emotions to the characters and how those symbols created a theme. You can think about the main character's culture. How did the main character's culture influence the theme? You can think about important decisions or actions the main character made and how those things led to the theme. So out of this list, you need to pick 3. You need to pick 3 of these elements that helped create that major theme. And then as you write, you're going to use at least 2 pieces of direct text evidence, 2 quotations from a text that are blended with your words, contextualized, we'll talk about what that means, and analyzed, we'll talk about what that means, to support your argument for each component you choose. So I know this seems like a ton at first, but really the only new thing you're doing here is putting your work into an essay format. You've done everything else already. You've shown you're able to do all these other things already, and you're going to be able to do the essay just fine. The whole point of this is to focus on essay writing and not have to be worrying about other elements as you go. Here's the basic requirements for the essay. You're going to start with a summary of the text. Well, lucky for you, when you completed that last path, you wrote 6 summaries of the text over 6 different portions. You can't just like copy and paste them all together, but you have the summary written pretty much. You can just kind of blend it together, and that's your summary of the text. You're going to write a thesis statement. A thesis statement is your argument in this case. In an essay, a thesis statement is the main idea of the essay summarized in like 1 or 2 sentences. In this case, the main idea of your essay is your argument of what the theme is. You usually put that thesis statement towards the end of the first paragraph when you're writing to inform people, or you're writing to persuade people, because you want people to know what your main point is right off the bat. You're going to need explanations about at least 3 of those elements of the text are related to the theme. Usually it's about 1 paragraph per element. Above standard though, you pick 4 of these. So remember, standard level, just pick 3. But above standard, if you want to kind of go for it, use 4. Honors level, those of you know, you know who you are, who can do some honors level work, use at least 5 elements. This will cause you to really engage deeply with your text, and it's not just more work, it's harder thinking. It's definitely a different level of challenge if you do all 4 or 5, because you're adding more complexity to your argument. And then you need at least 2 pieces of text evidence for each of those elements that you pick. All the evidence needs to be blended with your words. It needs context of what was happening in the text, and it needs an explanation of how the evidence proves your argument of what that theme is. All right, so in the next steps, we're going to get going.